So hello, I'm Xavier Priem. I'm the director of the CityNext cluster belonging to Eureka. So Eureka is an organization, I think I can go rapidly to this slide. Eureka is an organization that has been started something like 36 years ago. Between France and Germany, it has been extending now to 45 countries. So Europe mainly, but also outside of Europe. So you have Canada, you have South Africa, South Korea, Singapore, and so on, who have joined. We are, I say, clusters in plural because we are one of 5 clusters in the ECP program, in the Eureka Clusters program, and we are responsible for the ICT community in Eureka. We are a cluster. So what is a cluster? It's an organization that has an industry group, has a board. So we have 20 members. So among them you have Orange, Deutsche Telekom. It's a cluster under the umbrella of Eureka, so I won't break. It is an industry organization to support the community of the ICT. It has 20 group members. There are slides with more details about that. But mainly we are representing the value chain. So we have operators, we have technology suppliers, we have research institute RTOs in the core group, big names. And this core group defines a roadmap, and the roadmap is used to issue calls for projects, and those calls for projects are supported by the different national authorities, funding authorities across the 45 countries. It's not at all connected to the European Commission. So for the clusters, in Eureka you have all programs that are synchronized with the European Commission. In Eureka, the clusters are not synchronized, at least for now, with the European Commission. So in fact, you apply for a label. That means you present a project proposal, which is combining at least 3 countries across the 45 countries, with something like minimum 3, but something like 5 partners. And you apply for a label, which is a quality label. We assess your proposal and we give a label if it's with the right ranking. And it's over the entire roadmap of the 2 calls we have per year. And with that, you go at national funding agencies and you apply for national funding in each of the countries where the consortium is represented. But with the label, you have a higher chance, if it's a competition open to any project, you have a higher chance to get the funding at national level. And then you assemble this funding from the different nations into your consortium fund. It helps originally nationally based projects to extend internationally, but without the uncertainty of European Commission's project, where you have the horizon and there's a box for this topic and box for this topic, and you have 10 people applying for the same topic, and you have 1 chance out of 10 to get funding. With us, the success rate is 50-60%. So we are not predefining what we want. We have a roadmap, which is very large, that you can download from the website. The roadmap that is defined 4 years by 4 years normally. Now, before it was 8 years, so we are reducing to follow better the market. And this is this document for mission, vision, and roadmap that you can download. And any project that is of good quality with a strong impact, a good innovative step and so on, has a real chance to get funded. These are our high-level targets. I don't need to go into details. You will have all the slides. I want to go faster. So what we have done so far, we exist as CETIC since 2003, so 19 years. 102 billion joint public-private investment in projects, in 163 projects that have been, so it's more than 150. So it's a bit over 102 billion euro. You see very high level KPIs. And if you, the benefits that we provide to you, it's bottom up. That means, as I was saying, instead of defining top-down what we want, we have a big foundation of technologies, services, and so on that we are interested in. This list or this roadmap is defined by the industry and the public authorities from the different countries. And as long as you make a very good proposal in those topics, you have a chance. So we have 50-60% of SMEs applying to funding. so to the level and then funding. And it's very flexible. So unlike other systems of funding, when you apply, we make an appraisal of your application. If we find, for example, that it's not really the level of what we were expecting, that you have a good chance to reach it, we can give you 1-2 months more to rework your application and to get the full level. So that's one level with modification, as we call it. Or we instruct you to reapply 6 months later. So we have 2 calls per year, so you just need to wait 6 months more to be able to apply with a better quality. So instead of 1-2 months to make better, you have 6 months. Okay, that's one thing. And during the project, you can have problems. One company, it was a small company, but very important in the project, goes bankrupt. You can replace, or you can redistribute the work and so on. It's based on a mechanism that we call PCR, project change request. So that's also a flexibility that you have with Celtic that you don't have with other programs. And we negotiate all of that with the different countries. So these are the countries. Again, on this URL, you will be able to click to find the contacts, but of course in Germany here you will only click on Germany, but you can click also on different countries. For example, your company is interested to work with a country in another country in Europe, then you can check what is the contact name of Eureka Cluster Celtic in this country and contact this person to ask them, and they will do it really naturally, to make you in contact with people of your field that may be interested in your project. We are a community between the public authorities and the private sector. Okay, so that's high-level view on the roadmap. These are the core group members at the bottom. These are the big topics, and these are the application fields where we are looking at projects, but this is not exhaustive. If you bring an idea that is not one of those technology or those groups of technologies and has a good impact even on something that is not on this picture, you can always apply and we will look at it in the same way. So you have advantages. I will not go through all of them, but mainly we are not just, okay, your project is very interesting and we just say yes and then you are alone. We continue to monitor and help IBM. So when you have changes and we assess the project at the midterm, so at the middle of the project, and if there are problems on some deviation from the plan, we work together on how to recover from it, what we can do, either with funding or bringing over partners, or reconsider a topic or whatever. And this is also a flexibility, and there's a final term review where we assess the end of the project, of course. That's the organization. There's a core group, so like a board, the management team, with a chair and the guy blocked in the middle between the management team and the office, which is made of the following people here. So I'm acting also as a program coordinator. That means I directly control projects and manage projects together with consortia. When my colleague Christiane does that full time. So we have project support officers. They help you with different aspects, like the monitoring, accounting, administration. We have a public relation manager that you can also ask to help in making some publicity for your project, advertisement, and then recently I could get this Audrey, the business development trainee. Hopefully she will also stay soon in the company and in Celtic, helping me on the business development aspects and specifically on the space ICT sector. And I will come to that. Of course, just the high-level organization, the names of the core group. This is how a call is running. Everything is on internet, and you can click each box to have an explanation of each step. There's also a document, the proposer's guide, that you can download, which is detailed information what you need to consider if you make a proposal. And for the second part, before it was one document, Now you have a second document, which is the project management document. The label decision is made between industry experts, public authorities, and their experts if they want to commission experts on their side, and our core group representatives. All of these people in one meeting take a consensus decision about your project. If it's rejected, labeled with modifications, or labeled. So usually you have a call, deadline, 6 weeks later we have this meeting, and within 1 week, 2 weeks after this meeting you get the notification if you need to change something, if you are accepted fully already, like this guy was. So Dominic from Airbus is in the room, so he can speak about it. Or if you are labeled with modifications and which modifications you need to do. So now I will switch from the global view of CELTIC into what we look at for the space ICT topic. So on behalf of the core group, our board, I was asked beginning of last year to intensify the cooperation with space ICT actors, like Airbus, for example. Also, we had a proposal from Airbus in the field in one of our calls, so it was facilitated by that. And in that, demand from the core group started 2 actions, and one was to approach ESA to look at synchronizing and leveraging on both sides our funding capacities and our work programs and so on our roadmaps. And the other action was to invite companies into our core group to represent the space ICT vertical, or let's say community, inside the core group of CELTIC. So for example, SES is now a core group member, and we are in discussion with other people to let them in. So we signed an agreement with ESA, so Elodie in the middle with the director of TIA in ESA, Miguel Bello on the left, who is still the chairman of Eureka, but Miguel is also the Air Center CEO in Portugal, and he has plans for Portugal, for example, in the space ICT domain. So he's very interested in the development of this joint undertaking between, so it's not a GU like you would have in the Commission, but it's MOI, so it's a memorandum of intent, which means that in the next 4 years we will explore how we can leverage on synergies between the 2 organizations, on calls, on a strategic roadmap together, on finding ways to let projects on both sides communicate together through joint working groups, knowledge network exchange, and things like that. So we have signed a similar agreement, an MOU, understanding with the SIGGIA-SLS as well. It's not published publicly for now, but it has been signed in April. We will do a communication about it. In this one, we are looking at synchronizing the calls, our strategic roadmaps and so that the 3 organizations, and you heard Maria who said she is also in SIGGIA, SNSIA, so that the 3 organizations of us are not competing against each other, but working together. So there are good rationales for the cooperation. We'll just go orally about them, and you will have the slides later on offline. Space ICT is a complex field. I mean, between base station hardware that you put on a mast and something you put in a satellite, it's not the same world. And the experience of our community in CELTIC is more than network operators. So they do the mast ones, and Nokia, Ericsson, and so on. But now, okay, how do we move that into the sky, or let's say the space? This means we need to discuss more with the other community. So that was the starting point. And also we are representing quite a lot of SMEs, and for SMEs to bring something into a satellite, the entry cost is very high. And specifically, if you are not already in the space domain, it's even more difficult. So we will help the SMEs on the side of CELTIC to access to satellites and do experiments and integrations and so on. So we have different ways we support projects. So these are, as you know better, but on our side we have bottom-up calls, flagship calls, and the joint TCP calls. So bottom-up calls, as I said, are based on the full roadmap and so on. So you can have a project about space ICT as you can have a project about indoor coverage inside a building with 5G technology, for example. So it's very large. So you have really to bring the thing up in the quality. In flagship calls, we are pre-defining main topics together with industry and the public authorities' interest. And we are bringing a core of industrial members and a core of public authorities together to define a kind of program for 3 years. And then we open a call to add people to that. Add people and add public authorities of different countries or regions in countries. And joint calls are across, let's say, communities within Eureka. That means we have 5 clusters. One is about smart manufacturing, the other one is clean energy, software technologies, ICT, ourselves, and XCCS, who is the electronic components and systems, very important one. And for example, for the MOI with ESA, we are looking at going flagship mode. That means we will take actors from both sides, so Celtic and ESA, top the leads from ESA, the leads from Celtic, bring those guys together, define the content of the first flagship together, and then I have already public authorities. We have, let's say, saved money on the side for this program, and we will start working on a, let's say, restricted roadmap for this call, and then open a call to add more people. And yeah, just for this. That goes for the operationals. Okay, Portugal, you will see that. So the roadmap, so this is an extract of our roadmap, and you can see in green some of the topics that are related to space ICT and that we have on the roadmap of Celtic. So you can recognize, for example, this intelligent and automated dynamic spectrum management. And you have heard from Maria, for example, there's also a topic on that side. Beyond 5G, 5G to 6G, precision positioning, private networks, and so on. So this is part of a roadmap. That's the global picture we want to achieve. So I can tell you it took time to do this slide. So I like also the other versions that are a little bit more diagrams. So we target that, and CG Sky has a very good diagram as well, which was, by the way, the starting point of this one. So you can see what we want to achieve. And of course, neither Celtic can achieve that, nor ESA alone. So all together, we should work together to achieve that big vision. Okay. And it's not the animated one. I have an animated one. It's stalling. Okay. So that's CG Sky. I won't go into details into that. You have the project lead in the room. But it was a very good starting point for the thinking about the next steps. And it's considered as a seed for the, for the ESA Celtic cooperation. So this, you heard Maria, so that's a reference to her. The areas of collaboration, so multi-layered space ICT and flying objects convergence, design and development of systems, subsystems and technology, all of that is available in the MOI and in an article in our news that you can download. Networks and services conformance, viable business ecosystems models, and this is very important for both sides, convergence, integration of terrestrial and non-terrestrial, spectrum sharing, and management, network timing, and so on. So all those are the high-level topics. The short, I will move the short-term actions, but here, this is what we agreed between us to put into the common pot. And these are the actions. So road mapping. So you have the feasibility studies on side of ESA. You have some outcomes from the program in Celtic. Those things are things that need to be developed. Okay, so explored and developed in more details, implementation and so on. On our side, we do exclusively match-funded work. And we have heard just before, Frank, that ESA wants also, so DLR and ESA want to have more match-funded. activity, and we will work together on this. We will create a knowledge network so that we exchange between the two project sites. So we won't have joint calls. In the mean, it's not a call with ESA and CETIC working together. It is the same platform as a strategic roadmap, but then we will run our calls in parallel, and we will co-decide, okay, those projects will be better in that position. And once they are funded and running, we will let them communicate together and share information from what we want to share, and then also having working groups on specific topics like spectrum, like software-defined satellites and payload and services. Trying also to look at testbeds and trials platforms that can be made at disposal for the projects from both sides or together in co-investment, and then mutually advertise the calls of each community and each funding institution. So the main message is we have started to work very closely together with ESA. We are working on those strategic roadmaps, and we are even developing some tools together for the business development aspects. And we will launch, hopefully, beginning of next year, first flagship call on our side, of CETIC side, but based on the work done with ESA. And you will be able also, if you want, to apply with a good proposal on space ICT or a combination terrestrial network, non-terrestrial network convergence in the autumn call, bottom-up call from CETIC. It is not dedicated to that topic. But I have some countries who tell me that they would like already to fund projects there. So on private message level, I can give you some hints with which country you should discuss for your international consortium. And that's where we will work. In fact, those 45 countries, they discuss with the offices from the clusters, and they say, yeah, for the next 6 months, 1 year, I will open a call on this topic. That would be good if you would have a CETIC labeled or quality labeled project that could apply locally in our country for this topic, because we know that there's an international side of it that we might not get with our project proposals that are purely national applications. So that's how we work together. So I have regular calls with them, and they tell me. There are countries, for example, they cannot access anymore to some European things, and they have to invest money. That's why they tell me, okay, we might invest more in CETIC calls, for example.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.